This is the Bottom Shot Podcast.
Pulvereri is up high. They come out of turn number 4. Stutter between the turns. The fans come to their feet.
It is Ted Christopher still in command. Keith Rocco right there on his back bumper.
Bringing Stafford Motor Speedway's past and present together.
They are side by side running for the finish line. It's a photo finish.
Deep into turn number 3. He goes in deeper than most. Christopher is in trouble. It is Keith Rocco to slingshot to the bottom, and he'll take down the win.
A Stafford Motor Speedway production where we will hear from the personalities from the past and present that found success on the legendary half-mile oval.
The scoreboard shows goose eggs as they wait. It's Pulvereri. He wins it by inches over Richie Evans in the Spring Sizzler.
Unbelievable chain of events.
Now, here are your hosts, Paula Root and Kyle Rickey.
Bottom Shot Podcast moves to Summers, Connecticut now. Kyle Rickey, Paula Root, and our 2021 SK Light Modified Champion, 18-year-old Derek Devis. First off, congratulations on what was a great year for you and your team. Second consecutive year, but this one picking up the championship.
Thank you. We left off 2020 pretty good. I think 5th place finish, roughly, right at the end of the year. That was a Saturday show. I remember that. Coming into 2021, we had a strong car right from the beginning.
Yeah, so let's kind of take a step back. So I think a lot of fans probably don't really know. You kind of just came about on the scene and started just dominating the SK Light. So talk to us kind of how you got started in the sport and, where'd you come from?
We started off with the quarter midgets just like everybody else, just about that or go-karts. We took our next step to a bando, jumped up to a mini cup, and then started racing the legend cars. I think we were doing 25 different races or 25 different tracks, 50 races a year. Wow. So that's a big difference right there.
Where were a lot of those races, and ultimately what brought you to Stafford?
Staying local was the big thing. We were always traveling all up northeast, all the way down to Charlotte, down to Florida, out west, Vegas we've been. We were just getting tired after 3 years.
At 19 years, or 16 years old at the time.
Yeah. And so kind of talk to us about that change from driving a legend car to a modified. Very different, but pretty much all the drivers, not all of them, but a lot of the drivers that do come out of legends see pretty great success in the modifieds. They just adapt.
The hardest thing with the legend car was the motor to the weight of the car itself. So hopping into one of these 15-inch wheels, and the horsepower is there, but it's not the same as getting on the throttle. You were walking on eggshells, for example. This, you can, you actually got to get up on the throttle. You got to race that car.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that experience in the legend has helped you adapt to a modified quicker?
Absolutely. You actually race in a completely different field every week, so the competition was different. You're always learning. So that was one of the biggest things that we learned this year, was just be patient. You have to take it when you can. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we actually saw our success.
Yeah, I think the SK Lights have become such a tough division, and the fact that you were able to get 7 victories kind of is a throwback to the days of Tommy Barrett when he came in and dominated. Talk about kind of how you, it's so hard to get to the front in the SK Lights. You kind of navigate a traffic. Talk to the fans and kind of explain to them when you start 10th, 11th, 12th, and you got to get by all those guys in 20 laps. It's the sprint race. So talk to kind of like what the mindset is going into that event.
Like what I was talking to Kyle earlier, I saw 3 seconds, I think it was. All 3 of those seconds were I needed that one last lap. Just one more, or not even half lap could have done it.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to tell you're going to put yourself in a bad position or you actually comfortable with what you have. And I think that was, everybody wants to go out there and win. But a second place like that is a win for us coming back from 15th.
How much more comfortable were you this year in traffic coming back from 15th, from 12th, from 10th? I felt like last year you got a lot of wins, but you started front row, second row, and maybe struggled a bit getting to the front. If you started 10th or 12th, we didn't see you at the front of the field a whole lot last year. This year you looked far more comfortable, at least in traffic.
Well, it all started off last year with the one win. I think the Dunleavy night.
Yeah, it was the extra
that
distance,
was That's what started it all.
It was a dominant performance.
You know, the chance of that race going green the checkered was unbelievable. And Todd and them, they gave us an amazing car. So the car was just about driving itself.
Yeah.
So after that, it was smooth sailing. I think actually learning how to pass the cars was the biggest thing after that. But, I mean, overall, we had a pretty stout season, even though we didn't even make that first race of the year.
Yeah, that's something that the fans tend to forget.
Right.
He shows up at Stafford. He's fast.
Yep.
But he has a couple issues. You know, I forgot what happened. The car had an issue. Didn't qualify. He was in the contest. Didn't qualify for his first time at Stafford, and then he goes out and he's the champion a year later.
Yeah, I think we were 20 points out, and that was just, you know what, if we actually had that one race, it was like, that was it for us.
Yeah.
That would have sealed the deal, kind of. So coming into this year, my goal was kind of, you know, we're just going to go do better. No matter how, if we're a champion, go do more wins, or, you know, there's always a way to learn and improve.
And we talked earlier, bunch of wins, bunch of podium finishes. At what point, and I know Todd hates talking about points, but at what point do you start looking at points? I mean, last year you said, you know, we're 20 points out if we only had that extra race. At what point do you analyze? Do you analyze week to week, or do you wait until like the last month?
Not at all. I think that last wreck, we looked at it and we were 22 points ahead, 24, somewhere in that ballpark. But the week after, it was, we're down 22.
Right.
And so that was a completely different curveball. We didn't expect it. But that's racing. The second you go out on that racetrack, it's a completely different game field.
Yeah. And I think in this season, there was so many. I mean, there was obviously at the end there were three key drivers that were in the mix: you, Alex Pearl, Brian Sullivan, three great drivers. But every Friday, there's always a different guy in the mix. There's the Chapmans. There's so many different competitors in the mix every single Friday, and like the fact that you're able to grab 7 victories is so impressive. And I mean, going into the final event, we were tied. It was whoever was to beat then. So talk to us about that final event, right? All you had to do, it was a simple exercise, right? You just had to beat everybody else.
Beat the other two.
It was a simple exercise.
But
That
it
what
was
you
hard
say.
to do, yeah. So but the fans didn't catch on to it, which it's our fault if they didn't, because it was amazing.
Yep.
Whoever finished the farthest forward is the champion. Simple as that.
Yep.
You know, you guys promoted that all week long, and
So
that was the one thing that got on my nerves. And
did it stress you out?
A little bit more than usual, but it's one of them things where the more you worry about it, the more problems you're going to have after. So going into Friday was the same thing as always. You know, we got a car, we're going to go try and win. I mean, we went green the checkered again. So then it was more of where your priorities right now. So 5 laps to go. We're in the right position. Just followed Brian all the way up to the front. Took that advantage. Didn't hang him out there, but made sure Alexander could close up the gap on him. After that, I think I tried to make a move on Chapman. I got blocked. And couldn't let something silly mess up a season like that.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing was I had nothing to lose going into that season or that final race. So it was either we're going to finish first or third.
So during that event, were you kind of keeping tabs on where Pearl was, where Sullivan was? It sounds like you were.
Well, it's one of them things where you watch like one of those SK races. You don't want to be the leader with 5 to go.
Yeah.
You just want to win the race when it's over.
Yeah.
So going into that last one, I knew Brian's always someone who goes to the front every week. Slow and steady, or he can be there blink of an eye. You never know. So he always stayed with him the whole race. I think Alexander got blocked up a little bit. I mean, after that, it was the three of us just...
So it sounds like he had his eyes on where everybody was, which is impressive as a driver.
And I guess you have to in that position. I mean, it's not necessarily about the win that night. It's about finishing ahead of the other 2 guys that you're running for the championship with, that you're all but tied with going into that event. And you mentioned caution-free. I think somebody timed it out. It was like 6.5 minutes, and that race was over. Doesn't give you a whole lot of time to think and get stressed
Even
behind
to
the
breathe.
wheel or to breathe. But, I mean, are you thinking, oh, God, the caution's going to come out? Are you just waiting for that yellow light to come on? Or once you got in your rhythm, you weren't even thinking about it?
Well, if the caution were to come out, it's oh no, what's going to happen now? Everybody's piled back up on top of each other. Well, that race we kind of spread apart. It was the three of us for 10 laps, give or take, I think. And it was real good racing. You never see something usually like that. But I think beginning of the season, we actually had George Bissett was pushing me all around the racetrack. You know, it's a nice tight, just competition's unbelievable in this racing. So going into that, anybody had a fast car. So messing with the champion or at least being in the way, the possibilities were there as well. So
I was just telling Todd that I was looking at the picture of the Ted Christopher event this year, and of the 13 drivers in that picture, 10 of them are SK Elite graduates, which kind of just shows the path to, you know, the SKs, which is kind of our top class at Stafford. Is the eventual goal to possibly become an SK driver at Stafford?
Well, that's everybody's goal. They want to go up, move on, and see where they can get. But I just don't have the mentality right now to be competing with people like that. Like, you're racing with Todd and Keith Rocco. They put on a hell of a show each week.
It's fun to watch.
It is. And they get the extra 20 laps, and you kind of see their patience pay off.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the biggest things that I tried this year. Patience.
So you saw that from Todd and other SK guys, and you kind of
Absolutely.
You brought that into your own driving. Interesting.
Yeah, and you kind of, if you just follow the person in front of you, you're not going to go anywhere. So you got to kind of start thinking ahead and 5 cars ahead of you, not necessarily the one ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're in 2 years, and in fact last year wasn't even a full season, losing a couple of weeks due to the protocols, but 7th on the all-time SK modified win list. SK Light modified
it's
win list.
not there yet. Just give him a couple
SK
years.
Light. 12 wins, and you're only 5 wins behind leader Chris Matthews. Is that something that you could, is on your radar going
Seems
forward?
very attainable.
I mean, if the last 2 seasons were any indication, you could certainly bypass him if 2022 goes in your favor if you go that route.
Well, Chris Matthews, he's got one of our cars now too this year.
That's right.
So I think it was that second to last race. It was me and him going right at the end.
Yeah.
He threw on a quick little block and.
Oh, that was a moment. Yeah,
It was
the crowd.
It was like, whoa! It was like, come on, you can't let something mess up that. But that's what sealed the deal, honestly, for the final week of racing. Yeah. If it wasn't for that win, that's 2 points, for example. Me and Brian tied. I would have been 2 points behind.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we didn't race him like that, just didn't want to pass him like that.
Yeah. So it sounds like, Kyle, he's going to come and defend. That's what I'm hearing. He's going to defend the ship. There's been a few back-to-back SK
Not many.
Matt Galco is one.
Yep.
I think that might be it.
I think so.
Not many guys can say they've won 2 SK Elite titles in a row, and only 5 victories away from tying the all-time Chris Matthews. So
he's had that distinction now for
a long time.
Longer than he's been alive, I feel like. So it's been a couple of weeks now. How's it feel? Has it sunk in yet that you're a Stafford SK Light Modified champion?
It's one of them things where it's unbelievable, honestly. But you can't get too high, or you come into this next following year and it's, I'm the champion, this and that, and boom, first week you can get taken out just like that, and your whole season's done. So getting your head over here does not work all the time, but it is what it is. It was unbelievable, though.
Well, Derek, we appreciate you talking to us for a bit here, and we're very proud to call you a Stafford champion and add your name into the history books. And congrats on your 2021 title, and we look forward to watching title defense.
We'll see where we get then when it comes.
Awesome.